Hello, reporter room investigators. Come on in, come on in, come on in. We have breaking news in the Bryan Kohberger case.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Okay. So we have breaking news in the case. The judge has made rulings. He made 4 new rulings today. Let me grab these for you. Hang on one second. I've got multiple notifications. So this is breaking news. I'm literally getting this, and we have some new clues. We're going to go through the warrant receipts that we know about, and we're going to try to figure out. We're going to work together to figure out what clues we can take from these. So we're going to go through the judge's rulings first, then we're going to go through the warrant receipts from Amazon, the FBI, the Bank of America, the Apple, the Banner Bank in Spokane, Washington, Block Inc. So we're going to go through the Charter Communications. We're going to go through all the warrants, and we're going to line up what the probable evidence is in this. But let's start with our breaking news. And I am like literally doing this as we are going live. Hold on one second. Okay. Let me just go 1 second. I need to go back to YouTube for a second. I'm so sorry. I have breaking news in this case. Hold on 1 second. Let me grab it. So we're doing this live. Okay. All right, let's go. So DNA, this is my source on this, is the Idaho Statesman, a DNA technique that prosecutors, there's 4 rulings from the judge today. A DNA technique that prosecutors said first identified Bryan Kohberger as the suspect in the Idaho student case did not jeopardize the investigation. So the judge ruled that it did not jeopardize the investigation. So he is going to allow the IgG DNA in. Okay, that's ruling 1. So Ann Taylor had already, I told you guys, I thought that this is the way the judge was going to rule on this one. As you know, there's multiple motions to suppress evidence. So we have 4 new rulings from the judge on this. So number 1, the IgG DNA does not get to be thrown out. Now, the prosecution is not planning to present the IgG. That they have said that, but they're not planning to present that to the jury. Okay. They are going to be presenting the cheek swab that they got from Bryan Kohberger. But what Ann Taylor was trying to do is by getting the IgG tossed out, she was trying to get fruit of the poison tree so that if they got the IgG out, DNA out, then they wouldn't have probable cause to have gotten the warrant to arrest Bryan Kohberger to get the cheek swab. Now, the cheek swab that they did have a warrant for matched Bryan Kohberger in the octillion, which is 8. A million is 1, billion is 2, octillion is 8. So almost no one else on the planet could be matched to that DNA. Okay, so that's ruling 1. We have 3 more to go. Ruling 2, and the judge ruled that the IgG search and by the FBI does not, I repeat, does not justify suppressing any evidence collected after that. Okay, so that was the other thing. She was trying to say that the FBI, that all of the evidence that was collected after the FBI uploaded the IgG, that would be a reason to, because she's throwing everything at the wall, you guys. So that would be a reason to suppress the evidence. And for those of you that have said there's no evidence or no evidence, there is evidence. Ann Taylor wrote multiple motions. Okay, so we have rulings on these 4. Number 3, in addition, the judge ruled that the defense's assertion that investigators lied or withheld information from a prior judge to obtain search warrants was unfounded. So, is the defense going to get a Frank's hearing? That's the fourth one. Is the defense team going to get a Frank's hearing? And the answer is no. The judge says the defense's assertion that if the investigators lied or withheld information from a prior judge to obtain search warrants was, quote, unfounded and does not support holding a separate hearing to challenge that evidence. So no Frank's hearing for Ann Taylor and Bryan Kohberger, the defense team. So his rulings in all four opinions represent the biggest decisions from the Ada County judge since he took over the case last year. So I shared with you that I thought Ann Taylor got some positive things for moving the case to Ada County, but I also thought she got some negative things. The positive things was she got to re-argue the IGG motion. She got to request a Frank's hearing. She got to re-argue things that the judge in Latah County, John Judge, had already ruled on. Okay. So she got another bite at the apple. But I also told you that I thought that this judge, Judge Stephen Hippler, Hip with a P, wrote it, was tougher, no nonsense, and that he was, challenging her while she was making these claims, these motions to try to suppress the evidence. And so this is I was waiting for some breaking news. It literally was breaking while I was in the process of going live. So if I seem a little bit, I have a whole show planned, but this, of course, I'm not going to not go into breaking news first. So the judge's decisions represent a clean sweep for prosecutors, followed by a pair of hearings held late last month over the defense's efforts to exclude a variety of evidence. Again, there is evidence. Just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean that there isn't evidence. Ann Taylor wouldn't be making motions to suppress evidence if no evidence existed. Okay. So the closely watched trial is scheduled for this summer. It's scheduled for August, and jury selection is scheduled to begin on July 30th. So I'm going to be airing the full trial. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go through a full list of warrant receipts. Okay. We have warrants from Amazon, American Express, Apple. We're going to go through all of that, and we're going to figure out what these warrants for these particular receipts, what evidence the prosecution is searching for. So let me just go check one thing really quick. I'm sorry, I've got breaking news, so I'm just going to be checking to see if he made any other news is coming out. Okay. I'm just looking to see if we have any other breaking news in this case. So any other news besides those four rulings? So we're just doing this live, guys. This is what's fun about doing a live stream for me, is getting to go through all of this. So all right, so that appears to be all the breaking news that we have right now on the case. Let's go through the evidence that we know about and what this might mean for the trial. Okay. And I'm going to check in with chat in just a second. If you're just joining me, the judge made rulings. You can back up the live stream and you can see them. I will go through his rulings one more time at the end, just in case anybody's coming in late. So don't worry, I will go through it one more time. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. If there's anything else new, I don't see anything. And my sourcing on that was the Idaho Statesman. So let's go through the evidence and what this means for Bryan Kohberger. So, what I did was I went through the list of warrant receipts. Okay, so let's start with the Amazon warrant. Hold on, I gotta grab a sip. I was literally updating stuff when we went live. So Amazon on November 26th of 2022, the Amazon warrant was very specific for a K-bar knife models and leather of the USMC sheath. It was for the USMC K-bar purchases by any customer. They were looking for anyone. Because remember, on November 26th, the crimes had just happened on November 13th. BK had not been arrested. So they were just looking for anybody and everybody who purchased the knife. And then it gets narrower and narrower. So the next Amazon warrant we have is December 30th and January 27th. So January 27th and December 30th, they would have known at this point about Bryan Kohberger. The FBI subpoena from a federal grand jury returned in Bryan Kohberger's purchase information on December 30th, 2022. And the defense made a motion to suppress. So it made a motion to suppress those subpoenas. On March 8th of 2023 is the other date that they were looking for. So they put in a warrant for information to Amazon asking specifically. Remember, I told you that we believe that it was in the spring of 2022 that this is when he was making these purchases. So this warrant was put in on May 8th, of 2023. So this was a warrant for the same information as what the FBI was looking for. So that tells me the FBI has something and the prosecution needed to get it. So their warrant is Bryan Kohberger's Amazon account, his wish list, his product reviews, his purchases, his payment methods. Put a little star or a pin in payment methods, okay? Addresses, baskets, and click activity pertaining to knives. And that warrant was returned on June 27th of 2023. So, time frame March 20th to March 30th of 2022 and November 1st to November 6th of 2022 were selected on a second Amazon warrant specific to Bryan Kohberger's account. So I think these are very, very specific. I told you that I believed that although they did not have the knife that actually did away, they do have the knife sheath. We know how Maddie, Ethan, Kaylee, and Xana were done away with. I'm watching my words here. So I think that what law enforcement is doing is they're working to link him to the purchase of that K-bar knife. So did he purchase it on Amazon? It seems like law enforcement, the fact that we have this first warrant from the FBI, okay, but then we have the second warrant for the same thing, for the same thing, tells me that there was something in the first warrant from Bryan Kohberger's Amazon account that the prosecution wanted. Okay, so that's Amazon. Next, we're going to do American Express, Apple. We're going to do the 3 warrants related to the AT&T. We're going to do Bank of America, Banner Bank, Block Inc., Blue Ridge, Charter Communications. I spent all day yesterday looking up everything, and then just trying to figure out what does this mean. Okay, so that's the Amazon warrant. Let's do American Express. Okay, so they put in a warrant to get his American Express activity. So what I think they were looking to see is, can they prove that if he ordered this K-bar knife or any other items like we saw the receipt for the Dickies jumpsuit, right? Anything else that would be suspicious that would link him to that crime, because the prosecution is putting together a circumstantial case, which means they're going to build their case brick by brick, piece by piece, to create a wall of evidence that Ann Taylor is going to be trying to poke holes in. Okay. So American Express, I believe that they got the warrant for American Express because I believe that he used that card either to go to the Mad Greek restaurant, because remember, we heard that he visited the Mad Greek restaurant twice. Why is this significant? Well, it's significant because that's where Kaylee used to work. And it's significant because that's where Maddie and Xana were currently working. Okay. So I believe the American Express is related either to the purchase of the knife sheath, purchases made at the Mad Greek restaurant, or some other purchases of maybe the monkey suit or maybe plastic to Dexter out the car, something like that. Now let's talk about the Apple warrant. Okay. We know that BK had an AT&T cell phone. So we know that he didn't have an Apple phone. So what is the Apple warrant about? Well, I've shared with you in the past that I thought that the geofencing handshakes were going to play a role in this case. Now, we know that Kaylee had an Apple Watch and a laptop. So, was there geofencing? If you don't know what geofencing means, it means if you walk into a coffee shop or you go into the hospital, you're offered to link your device, your phone or your tablet, into their site. You can use their internet for free. Now, whether you accept this or do not accept this does not matter as far as the geofencing goes. Their server and your server or cell phone or tablet are going, or laptop, are going to make a handshake, and it's going to be recorded. So I believe that this Apple warrant is related to Kaylee's Bluetooth, and it's going to show recorded handshakes from Bryan's AT&T cell phone with Kaylee. Did Kaylee solve her own crime? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, we have 3 warrants, not 1, not 2, but 3 warrants into AT&T. Now, BK, this was his cell phone provider. So why 3 warrants? To me, that tells me that law enforcement had something. Now, it could be that the FBI put in a warrant and then the prosecution needed it, so they put a second warrant in because these were done over different time frames. It could be that besides BK, that maybe 2 of the other survivors or maybe roommates also used AT&T. We know the roommates were texting. Did either one of them have AT&T? Could this be related to that? Did law enforcement want to know what was going on during the crimes? But definitely at least one of those warrants, maybe 2, are related to Bryan Kohberger because that is his cell phone service. Now, I am talking about this case in terms of Bryan Kohberger because it's Ann Taylor is making the motions on his behalf. Okay. He's the one that's on trial and arrested, but he is innocent until proven guilty. I just want to say that from the outset, but I am talking about this case in terms of him because he is the one that's going on trial this summer. So let's talk about Bank of America and Banner Bank of Spokane. Let me just check in really quick with chat. I do want to say thank you to Head Mod and Jazz and just welcome everybody. Kat says she's worried. Frank is here. Hi, Frank. Oh, Frank's a channel member. Welcome, Frank. Dee Dee's here. And we're going to have a members only live stream after that. He gives you the creeps. Lauren's here. I'm sorry. Kenneth is here. So thank you to all of our mods, our channel members, and our subscribers. Lori's here. Midwest is here. Come on in, guys. I'm just saying hello to chat quickly. Let me know which warrant you think is the most important and what you think about the fact that and these new rulings that we just got. Hey, Veronica, I'm so glad to see you today. Okay, so and Sirius is here. Kaylee's here. Pepper's here. Oh, we have so many people in. Come on in, you guys. Okay, so we have new information. Yeah, Kaylee loves this judge. If you believe Bryan Kohberger did it, you love the judge. If you think he's innocent, you might not love the judge. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. Let them know that we're doing a G-rated show. I am going to go over the breaking news again one more time in just a moment, but right now, we're going to go through the rest of this information. Okay, so let's talk about the warrant for the Bank of America. We don't know if Bryan Kohberger banked at Bank of America or not, but I am thinking that he either banked with them or he had some type of credit card with them. And I think that the credit card payment affiliated with Bank of America would be looking at this to see if he used this. Remember, if he ordered it on Amazon, they would want to dot every T and cross every I. So if he ordered that K-bar knife, and I do believe he ordered it on Amazon, I do believe they know they can link the purchase of that knife. They're also going to want to show how he paid for it. I believe that he would have used a credit or debit card. It could also be that he paid for other things that are suspicious using his Bank of America credit card or debit card if he was banking there. But it could also be that he made use some other things that he could have bought the monkey suit. He could have bought, extra bleach, those medical grade gloves. a mask, something else that may link him to the crime. So there's a reason they're asking for that. The other one that they asked for is Banner Bank, which is located in Spokane, Washington. So I'm not sure exactly why Banner Bank was subpoenaed. It could be that as a teaching assistant that he did bank with Banner Bank. It could be that he had a credit card with Bank of America and a bank account with Banner Bank. But I believe that what they were looking for, and we know that he used, American Express. I'm sorry, a Bank of America might have just been a credit card. But I believe that they were looking for a way that he paid for something, which is what makes me think that they were able to link that knife to the purchase of that knife to Bryan Kohberger. And I'm going to talk about one other knife search that I think is relevant in just a moment. So please stay with me. Okay, so now let's talk about Block Ink. And I was like, what the heck is Block Ink? And let me just see if I can pull this up. So, okay, so Block Ink was formerly Square. So this is also another way to pay. So I think law enforcement didn't know how certain items were being paid for, and they wanted to also this would also help them to narrow down, um, to help them search. So by getting a warrant for Block Ink, they would be able to see what he bought and then do a reverse search and see where he bought it. And I think they were, throwing everything they could at the wall to try to figure out how he purchased certain items in order to link him to the 1122 King Road house. Now, the next one we have is very interesting. It's Blue Ridge Knives in Marion, Virginia. So this is another, I believe this also was them trying to see. Now, Blue Ridge Knives could be a seller on Amazon. All right. So it could be that he purchased the knife directly through Blue Ridge Knives, or it could be that they're a seller on Amazon. Again, they're going to want to dot every I, cross every T. But I think the law enforcement search of Blue Ridge Knives is a concerted effort to link Bryan Kohberger to that knife sheath that was found underneath to the side of Maddie. They already have the DNA, and anything else they can get on top of the DNA is just gravy for them at this point, because juries do love DNA. I think it's going to be really hard for Ann Taylor to overcome that DNA. I think she's going to definitely try. She's a great lawyer. I'm not taking anything away from her, but I do think that this is going to be a problem for her, the DNA, which is why she was trying to get the IGG thrown out. But she was unsuccessful in doing that. She tried to get a Franks hearing. She was unsuccessful in that as well. So now the next warrant we're going to talk about is Charter Communications. Charter Communications is a communication company. It provides internet, TV, and phone services, and it operates under a company called Spectrum. So you may not be familiar with Charter Communications. I wasn't. I had to look it up, but I have heard of Spectrum. They offer TV, internet, and they offer cell phone mobile services. They also have a company called Spectrum Voice, which is a phone service, and then Spectrum Business, which is a broadband services for businesses. So I believe that they were trying to, again, go backwards and look at things that he was searching. I believe that they were probably trying to get access to his internet searches. We know that they did get at least a tablet that belonged to him from his parents' home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. But I think they're also trying to link searches. So they may be linking searches of the victims. They could be linking searches of the knife. They could be linking searches of, areas of where he might have thrown away the knife. They could be linking this to other items that were purchased, the monkey suit, the mask, plastic to kit out the car. Okay, the next one that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to go through all of the items that were seized at the residence and that at his WSU, and we're going to go through those and what might mean for the case. So then the next search is the Core Coeur d'Alene Police Department Forensic Lab. Okay, so this is located in Idaho. It's a forensics lab. So I wasn't 100% sure of what this search was in relationship to and why they would need a warrant for it. It may be something that was collected at the house. Now, Ann Taylor made a point to say that there was no DNA evidence in Bryan Kohberger's car, but she was trying to making motions to suppress any evidence that law enforcement got from Bryan's car. So it may be that they are, sent some things off to the forensics lab, and there might be something there. Remember, if there's a fiber, we've also been told that there's an ID that was found inside a glove, inside a box, inside his parents' Brightsville, Pennsylvania house that belongs to one of the victims. If that's the case, that is going to be, in my opinion, as hard for Ann Taylor to overcome as the DNA evidence. I think it's going to be very, very hard. For those of you that get mad at me when I have to report things, I'm just bringing you guys all the information so you can make up your own mind. I know if you're like pro defense, you get mad when I point out things. If you're pro prosecution, some people get mad when I point out things that help the defense. I'm just bringing you, this is a critical thinkers channel. I'm just bringing you all of the information. You guys can make up your own mind in this case. I am just bringing you the information. So just please know that. Okay, so I'm not sure what's at the forensics lab, but obviously there's something. And again, for people who've been saying there's no evidence, there is evidence. And Taylor has made multiple motions to suppress the evidence. And the law enforcement was definitely getting a warrant for something that was at this police department forensics lab. So I'm not sure exactly what they were getting. It could be fibers that link. Remember I said that seat belt in the car, even if you clean the car meticulously, it would be possible when you have the lap belt and the shoulder belt, when you release it, that it could have collected any little fibers or hairs. We know that there was animal hair found inside his apartment. If that links back to Murphy the dog, there would be no reason that Bryan Kohberger should have any hair that links back to Murphy the dog in his apartment. So again, I think that would be very hard for the defense to overcome. Okay, the next warrant is for Discover Bank. Let me grab a sip of water. Show planned, and then we got all this breaking news. So, all right. So, Discover Bank. Please drop your questions for me in the live. Come up and talk to me. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Discover Bank. Okay, so I believe that this is going to relate back to a Discover card that was potentially used at the Mad Greek restaurant where Kaylee used to work and where Maddie and Xana were currently working. Now, we've heard that Bryan Kohberger visited the Mad Greek a couple of times, twice to be exact. Now, we don't know if he interacted with any of the victims. If so, law enforcement would want to prove that he was at the Mad Greek. They would also be pulling time cards for the victims when they were working there and the dates, again, to prove any type of connection with Bryan Kohberger to the victims. I shared with you last week that they had tried to get in the fact that he was near the mall at the same time as the victims, and that they had a traffic stop with him on a traffic stop that we don't have the body cam footage for, that he had made, and that I thought they were trying to connect him to following the victims. Remember, the stalking statute in Idaho is very narrow. This is another question I get almost every single live stream I do. I try to say it, if you guys see the question, feel free to respond to it. But the stalking statute in Idaho is so narrow. The victims have to feel harassed or threatened for it to be considered stalking in Idaho. So just because there's no stalking doesn't mean he wasn't surveilling or following the victims. And I think that them trying to get this traffic stop in when that was already denied, and they're trying to get it in another way, they're just trying to say it identifies Bryan Kohberger. I think they are working on trying to prove that he does have connections with the victims. Okay, we're going to talk about all the items that were seized at the residence that were stored by the Washington State University Police Department prior to Bryan Kohberger This would be after he was arrested, but before he was indicted. So we're going to talk about what they got and what this means, what all of these things mean. Let me just check in with chat and see if you guys have any questions. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I usually am more, yeah, please give this a thumbs up. If you're just joining me, we have breaking news. I will just go through it really quick in just a second. I went through it at the top of the thing, but I'll say it one more time. Jeff H. said the judge didn't buy the picture that Anne was trying to paint. It doesn't seem so. It doesn't seem so. So for those of you that are just joining me, let me just, and we're going to go through the item Cs and what this might mean, but let me just go through the 4 rulings that the judge made today. 1, DNA technique that the prosecutors said first identified Bryan Kohberger as their suspect in the Idaho student case. I'm watching my words here. Did not, I repeat, did not jeopardize the investigation. That's number 1. So he ruled it did not jeopardize the investigation. Okay. Number 2. So that's bad for the defense, good for the prosecution. And don't hate the messenger. I'm just bringing you the rulings. Number 2, its use by the FBI does not justify suppressing any evidence collected after that. Okay. So she was trying to say that any evidence that was used after. So the first ruling 1 is that IgG DNA. He said it did not jeopardize the investigation. So that stands, and everything that was collected after that, the probable cause warrant, all stands. Number 2, the use of the IgG data by the FBI does not justify suppressing any evidence after that. So the judge is saying all evidence that was collected after the FBI searched the ancestry DNA places stays in. Ann Taylor lost that motion to suppress that evidence as well. Number 3, the defense's assertion that investigators lied or withheld information from a prior judge to obtain search warrants. The judge ruled that, quote, these were unfounded and does not support a separate hearing to challenge that evidence. So the 4th one is Ann Taylor was requesting a Franks hearing. Judge said no. Denied. So Ann Taylor lost all 4 his rulings in 4 opinions. These represent the biggest, my source on this is the Idaho Statesman. These represent the biggest decisions from this Ada County judge since he took over the case last year. And the judge's decisions represent a, quote, clean sweep for prosecutors, followed a pair of hearings that were held late last month over the defense's efforts to exclude a variety of evidence from the Bryan Kohberger case. This closely watched trial starts this summer with jury selection beginning July 30th. Okay, so I hope you guys will bring me your questions. I'll do my best to answer them. You're welcome, Top Cat. I was looking for that yesterday. I told you if his rulings came down yesterday, I would go live. When they didn't come, I just pushed it till today, which was great because I have a whole show. It takes me a day to get a show ready for you guys to like plan out a whole show. So I was able to work on that all day yesterday. And I'm also doing the Gabby Petito case, and I have filmed. I haven't uploaded. I'm not done editing, but I filmed another video in that case as well. Siri says, Jeffy, you're going to be right all along. She's talking to you, Jeff H. Hi, Holly. So come on in, guys. Bring me your questions. Thank you so much to Sirius Black for the $5. Wow. Thank you so much, Sirius Black, for the $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you to Kristen Godot for the $1.99 super sticker. Wow. Thank you so much. Midwest, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. David, thank you so much for the $1.99 super chat. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so, so much, you guys. And thank you, NJAS, for a gifted Reporter Room membership. Let me know who you are if you got the membership, and thank you to NJAS. Okay, so I still have I have a whole show planned. Hey, Christine. Brother Mike is here. All right, so I have a whole show planned. I worked on this yesterday. So let's continue on. Come on in and tell me your questions. Sheila said nothing was purchased from Amazon account. Nothing, found no evidence. I'm telling you, Okay, this is my, okay. All right, that's okay. Let me just take a breath. All right, so um, I would love to know your sourcing on this, okay? But this is I'm just giving you the best information that I can. Something was purchased on Amazon, okay? Something, and thank you for bringing me your question. I get comments like this in the comment section, so it's great to address it during the live stream. Something was purchased on Amazon because we have 3 search warrants that we know about to Amazon. One was the FBI. Okay, so they found something because behind that, the local police came for the prosecution, came in with the same search warrant for the same thing. Okay, you guys. So they came right behind the Amazon, right behind the FBI with the same exact search warrant. If FBI found nothing, then the local police department, on behalf of the prosecution, would not have gone in with a second search warrant. So, in my opinion, there is something on Amazon that they want. There is something there. Okay. So I know this, if you like, and if you guys are like pro defense and you're getting mad at me, please don't. I'm bringing you all the information so you guys can make up your own mind. But I'm going to tell you what I believe. Okay. What this means. Otherwise, um, Adrian says, I hope he doesn't get a deal. Well, we thought that there might have been a deal coming. And the reason that we thought this, and I discussed this at length, not last live stream, but the one before, was that all of a sudden, Ann Taylor agreed that after the prosecution, Ann Taylor agreed that his mental health records and his physical health records would not be shown to the prosecution. Okay. All of a sudden, Ann Taylor decided that she did want the prosecution to see his mental health records and his physical health records. So the fact that she released that and made it available to the prosecution is either one of 2 reasons. One, she's trying to cut a deal with the prosecution. Okay. Now, for them to make a deal with Ann Taylor, they would need to have the family members on board. I don't know if there was a deal. I don't think there's been a deal struck because we haven't heard anything. But the other reason, if it's not to make a deal with the prosecution, is that it's mitigation. So Ann Taylor is planning, in the event, it's just if, but in the event that Bryan Kohberger is found guilty, then what Ann Taylor is planning is she is planning to mitigate the sentence, trying to get rid of that capital punishment, okay, because she wants to save his life. She's a good lawyer, so she would be mitigating that. So that's a great comment, Adrian. I appreciate your sharing that. Yeah, Ted Bundy, definitely. They said that his eyes turned black. That's what the survivors of Ted Bundy said, that his eyes would literally go black. And they said that the reason that this happens, because he had blue eyes, is that when some of these perpetrators, while they're committing the crime, they get very excited and their eyes dilate. So that's why the blue eyes will suddenly look black. So thanks, you guys. Top Cat said, Ann Taylor seems desperate to get the Amazon evidence suppressed. There might be something there. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think the fact that both the FBI and the local police departments, both, on behalf of the prosecution, were subpoenaing the same thing, that something's there. Okay. This is my educated opinion. We'll find out during the trial if I'm right or wrong, but I think there is something there. I don't know what it is. I suspect it's going to be the thing. Mike thinks that maybe the Discover card or one of these other purchases is related to Mad Greek. Yeah. Susan believes the first warrant was for Bryan Kohberger. Bryan Kohberger, we have found no evidence that he was involved in anything. I looked into that as well. I've made over 135 videos on this case, videos and live streams. You can go back and look at my Bryan Kohberger videos. I did go into that, in detail, because I wondered too. But I was not able to find anything that links Bryan Kohberger to these crimes. If I find anything, I will let you know. If you have a link, please, or tell me where what your source is. If you have a tip for me, please leave it in the comment section, or you can find me on Twitter at Davies Writer. Yeah, all civilly comments. This is our head mod and Jazz are welcome. Please be respectful. Yeah, we can disagree, and all comments are welcome. If you are pro prosecution, pro defense, you guys are all welcome to come in and share your opinion. I'm just going to try to take your questions and comments. If you're making the comment up here, I'm assuming you want me to talk about it. She thinks this is the best news she's had. Sirius says, I've never looked forward to a trial in my life. I'm going to be airing this trial every day. Holly Galay says, I'm so anticipating this trial. These poor parents had to wait so long. Meme says, a lot of possible circumstantial evidence, hard to dismiss. Right. For people who are saying there's no evidence, Ann Taylor put in multiple motions to suppress the evidence. So there is evidence. Okay. She's, her motions prove that there is evidence. Thank you, Pepper. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. Let YouTube know this is a G-rated show. Hi, Dee Dee. Sierra says, we have been on this case a long time together. Holly Golightly, Njaz, Kami, Florence, White, Wicked. Yeah, we've been on this together from the beginning. Hey, Alborica. Florence said, I was a member of, I don't know what happened. I'm not sure. If you're a member and I don't have you, let me know. I'm going to jump back into more information. We're going to look at more things, more evidence, and then what and requests for evidence and what these might show. Thank you so much, Shelly. Sorry, thank you so much for your $7.99 super sticker. Wow, you guys, I'm really touched. Thank you so much. I am going to put these toward a computer. I am saving for a computer. I got derailed a little bit with the sepsis, and I'm like almost 2/3 of the way there. By today, I might be 3/4 of the way there. Thank you, Lisa. Wow. Okay. I think that's really generous. So thank you so much for the $49.99 super sticker. Okay, so I probably am like 3/4 of the way there for my computer. So you guys, I'm going to be able to have a new computer, which will be great. For those of you that don't know, I patched together a camera to get this computer to last a little bit. Veronica says, I think the Amazon warrant was the most important, and it found that he purchased the knife from Amazon. Yeah, I showed you where multiple sourcing was saying that he had purchased the knife in the spring of 2022, in the months leading up to the November 13th crime. And so I'm wondering, with the double search warrant, both the FBI and then that second one that comes in for the exact same time frame, exact same thing, if that isn't related to the knife. It's certainly something significant. Okay. Brian R. thinks he's guilty. Whether you think he's guilty or not guilty, that's okay. Yeah, consider becoming a channel member. Let's see. Octillion times guilty is what Adrian says. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. Veronica thinks he got the Dickie suit at Walmart. Hi, CJK. All right, so let's go back through the evidence, and I'll come back and check in with chat. But I want to go through the items that were seized from his residence. Okay, this is from the apartment, that were initially stored at the WSU, Washington State University Police Department. And then, of course, now the prosecution has them. So first of all, we have, as number one, a 1-nitrate type black glove. Remember, our eyewitness Dylan says she saw a man dressed all in black, wearing a mask with bushy eyebrows. So I think that this one black glove is significant. We also know that a glove was found outside the crime scene, but that had different evidence that was linked to an unknown source. Now, Fox News reported out that they thought that Bryan Kohberger, being a criminology student, that he would have been smart enough to maybe plant some evidence to cast reasonable doubt. I don't know if that's true or not true. I'll bring it to you with that caveat. I certainly don't know. It could be that, it was a party house. It could have been an investigator, CSI, just took their gloves off and dropped one by accident. I don't know. But I was able to find out for you why it wasn't why it wasn't tested. And it's not anything nefarious. It goes back to a law from the 1990s, which means if you don't have probable cause to test that evidence, that DNA, then you're not allowed to. We also don't know when the glove outside was dropped. We have so they seized from Bryan's house one nitrate type of black glove, which makes me wonder, is there another nitrate type of black glove? Does this match the gloves that he was wearing at his parents' house? Why did they seize that? The number 2 item seized, one Walmart receipt with one Dickies tag. Okay, so I've been wondering this whole time if the Amazon searches and the 3 search warrants, but maybe one was related to that Dickies receipt. Okay. But now we're finding out that it is a Walmart receipt with one Dickies tab. Now, Dickies, if you don't know, I shared this in a live stream, makes a monkey suit. So Dylan said she saw someone dressed all in black. Now, Bethany, according to the Mirror, and Ann Taylor's investigator obviously thought this was significant because he was, really wanting to interview her. And Bethany didn't want to, but she did ultimately grant the defense an interview because Bethany reportedly saw someone without anything on at the patio doors. So did he have a monkey suit on and then strip it off, drop it into a bag and exit? We know Judge Hippler talked about a brown paper bag and Bryan being seen, the suspect being seen dropping items into it. Okay, next one is 2 Marshall's receipts. So Marshall's is a department store. I have no idea what would have been bought at Marshall's. We know that there was a Vans shoe print. So is it related? That was found outside of Dylan's door. Is it related to the Vans shoe print? We're not going to know until we get to the trial what that shows, what these 2 Marshall receipts are related to. The next one is they collected all the dust from a Bissell Power Force vacuum. So we know that they were looking probably for anything that would link him to the crime scene. They're looking for fibers, hair, dog hair. So they collected all of the dust in the container from the Bissell Power Force vacuum. Don't know what's going to show. It could be a nothing burger too, right? Then they collected 8 possible hair strands. So Ann Taylor said there was no DNA that related to the case inside the car. She didn't say there was no evidence in the car, in Bryan's car. Moreover, she said that she was trying to suppress the evidence that law enforcement got out of the car. So, but this was from his Pullman apartment. So these 8 hair strands could just be random. But if any of those hair strands link back to any of the victims, that's going to be really hard for him to explain. Okay. 6, one Fire TV stick with the cord and the plug. I would suspect they would be trying to see what he was watching. Could be see what he was searching. I don't know if he had his computer linked to his television. I know a lot of people do. They load up their Facebook. We don't know if any of the victims. We know from Dateline NBC and from Stephen Christie Gonzalez that Bryan Kohberger was following Kaylee and Maddie on Instagram and that he was messaging at least one of the victims. Some reports have said 2 of the victims. And then Stephen Christie said that he was that he was liking all of Maddie's photos. We know that Maddie is the probably the first room that he went into that we know suspect, and that Kaylee was in the bed with her. Okay, number 7 is a one possible animal hair strand. Now, if this turns out to be a cat, Bryan's all clear. If this links back to Murphy the dog, and I told you about Buddy the dog and why I thought that was significant. Buddy the dog was disappeared out of his own backyard on October 21st. And I shared with you that I thought that it was possible that, and this was the date that Bryan got that email from his professor that was basically threatening his job, and he was reprimanded very sternly. I think that would have made him angry. I think it would have made him enraged. So if this hair strand links back to either one of those dogs, I think that's going to be a problem. Number 8 is another possible hair strand. Again, I don't know if this links back to any of the 4 victims or to 2 roommates, to anyone that was in that house. That's a problem. Number 9, another possible hair strand. Number 10, another possible hair strand. Number 11, another possible hair strand. Number 12, a computer tower. I think that this may be linked to the Spectrum internet searches, where they're going to go through that tower. Now, he's a smart guy. He's a criminology major. This is alleged. He's innocent until proven guilty. But if they're able to find any searches that he did for any of the victims, I mean, if you just think about the searches, Nicole Kessinger deleted everything, right? She thought she deleted everything, and law enforcement was still able to find that she had searched Shanann. They were still able to find that she searched wedding dresses while she was claiming to them in interviews she didn't know Chris was married. So, and she was looking up Shanann's Facebook, and Shanann's a very unusual name. So this was, while she's claiming to law enforcement, she didn't know Shanann was pregnant. So we know that law enforcement can get a lot from this. We just don't know what it is yet, because the gag order was put in place by Ann Taylor on behalf of Bryan Kohberger, because her job is to protect his right to a fair trial, and the judge granted that gag order. So for people that are saying there's no evidence, there is evidence, and Taylor has made motions to suppress the evidence. We just don't know what it is yet, and we're not going to find out until the trial, because the prosecution isn't leaking anything. Okay, next we have a collection of a dark red spot collected without testing. So some people have wondered if this was blood. Some people have said, it could just be something spilled. It could have just been some chili, right? It could be something really benign, but a dark red spot was collected without testing it. The next thing is 2 cuttings. So they took 2 cuttings from an uncased pillow with reddish brown stains. They tested the larger stain. I don't know if we don't know if they've tested the smaller one yet. That could be what the, what they were looking for from that lab that I just told you about, at the Core Daily Aid. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, forensics lab, that it could be that these cuttings were sent there and that they needed them for the trial. The next 2 are 2 top and bottom of mattress covers packaged separately, both labeled C, with multiple stains. Okay, so they got the top and the bottom of the mattress cover. They packaged them separately. They both labeled them C with multiple stains. Again, these could just be nothing. Could just be he was eating in bed. Could be, something else in bed. Watching my words here. So I want to go through the defense motions for people who don't think there's any evidence in this case. I want to go through Ann Taylor's defense motions to suppress the following evidence. Okay. And so I'm going to go into what she was trying to suppress and what that might mean. Let me just check in with chat. I don't want to be rude, and I do want to make this interactive. Thank you so much to Brother Mike for the super sticker, $1.99. That is so generous. Thank you so much. Rebecca, thank you so much for your $5 super sticker. I really, really appreciate that. And I'm putting this toward a new computer, guys. And thank you to Kat for the $5 super sticker. For those of you that are just joining me, I just want to tell you that we have breaking news in the case. I'm going to go back to it, and then we're going to go through Ann Taylor's motions of what evidence she's trying to suppress and what this might mean for the prosecution, because it's coming in. So we got 4 motions from the judge today. The first motion, the DNA evidence, the prosecutor said first identified Bryan Kohberger. Remember, Ann Taylor said she didn't know how Bryan Kohberger's name got on investigators' lips. Well, she was trying to get the IgG DNA thrown out, and the judge said that it did not jeopardize the investigation. Motion is denied. Number 2, Ann Taylor was trying to get the use of the IgG DNA that they uploaded to the Ancestry DNA site, that she wanted that to be suppressed. Remember, if it's suppressed, means it's bad for Bryan Kohberger. If she wanted the evidence to come in, it would mean it's probably good for Bryan Kohberger. So suppressed means it's bad. The judge ruled on this one as well. He said that the FBI that its use of the IgG DNA use by the FBI, the use of the Ancestry DNA sites, does not justify suppressing any evidence collected after that. So again, motion denied. Number 3, Ann Taylor's assertion that the investigators lied or withheld information from a prior judge to obtain search warrants. She claimed that and said that the evidence should be suppressed. The judge said that this was, quote, unfounded and does not support a separate hearing to challenge that evidence. So Ann Taylor also had asked for a Franks hearing. And so the judge stating that he does not support holding a separate hearing to challenge that evidence is number 4. He denied her motion for a Franks hearing. So all of the evidence is that Ann Taylor was trying to suppress is coming in. So this judge's decision represents, quote unquote, my source is the Idaho Statesman, a clean sweep for prosecutors, followed by a pair of hearings held late last month over defense efforts to exclude a variety of evidence from Bryan Kohberger's case. Okay, so let's now go through the evidence. So this is what Ann Taylor wanted to suppress. Okay, now we know it's all coming in, so let's talk about it. Let me grab a sip of water. Hold on. Okay, let's talk about it. First is the IgG genetic information. We've discussed this. I discussed the IgG genetic information, and Taylor's point was that she didn't want it to come in because she felt like it was took away from our right to privacy, from Bryan Kohberger's right to privacy. And I kind of told you I didn't think that she was going to win that one, because the judge pushed back on that during the hearing and said that how would Bryan Kohberger have standing to say that a distant relative or ancestor could deny that Bryan Kohberger would be able to deny them the right to upload their own DNA to a website. Number 2, what law enforcement got from Bryan Kohberger's car. Yes, we all heard that Ann Taylor said no DNA in the car. She never said no evidence in the car, but her another motion from Ann Taylor was trying to suppress the evidence that law enforcement got from the car. I told you I thought that it could just be that they were, trying to, that law enforcement did surveil Bryan Kohberger. We have heard reportedly that they watched him meticulously cleaning that car multiple times. But I said there might be other things in that car. They could, first of all, the seatbelt does snap back up into place. It could be something caught up in there. I also wonder if his cell phone may have been in the car. But and we've also heard that he was buying a shovel. This, again, he went to that big national park down near Clarkston. The day of the crimes, was he getting rid of evidence? Was it, why go all the way there to shop at Albertsons when you have grocery stores in Pullman? So number 3, Ann Taylor wanted to suppress law enforcement's evidence that they got from his parents' Albrightsville, Pennsylvania house. I've shared with you in the past that I believe the defense team is trying to suppress the victim's ID that was found inside a glove, inside a box at his parents' Albrightsville house. And remember, among the handwritten list of items police seized from Bryan Kohberger's house were, quote, ID cards inside a box, inside a glove. Okay, we don't know what kind of glove. If it was a black nitrate glove, that could explain why they, pulled that from his apartment. We don't know who it belongs to, but something, if this turns out to be, as it's being reported, that this links back to Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, Xana, or either one of the roommates, Dylan or Bethany, this is a huge problem for Ann Taylor. I think this might be more devastating even than the DNA, because how in the world would a victim's ID get from Moscow, Idaho, into Bryan Kohberger's parents' house all the way in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania? Ann Taylor tried to suppress what law enforcement pulled from Bryan Kohberger's electronics. Now, I believe they have multiple searches, and I just talked about the geofencing information from his electronics, including his cell phone, which I believe may have been located inside his car or inside his parents' house. There is something in both of those that she does not want the jury to see. Now, I told you that Bryan Kohberger had the Strava app on his cell phone, and I said this app would be devastating um, from his cell phone because this app tracks your steps. It's better than GPS because GPS is only when you're in the car. Strava tracks your cell phone when you're in the car. It tracks your cell phone when you're just walking around. It monitors your steps. And if you watch the Alex Murdaugh case, we found that the fitness app on Maggie's phone was really devastating for Alex Murdaugh. So I think that law enforcement is going to work to match up those cell phone tower pings with apps on Bryan's phone, including Snapchat, which also gives location data to law enforcement, and Strava, which Bryan Kohberger was known to have on his cell phone. So remember in Dateline's King Road episode, NBC correspondent Keith Morrison said, quote, "And now Kohberger's phone, his electronics have told police that this was the first of 12. Okay, so listen to the statement. Was the first of 12 trips Kohberger made to Moscow in the area near King Road before the M. I'm watching my words in case you have little ones in the room. And at least one close enough to connect to the house Wi-Fi." Okay, let me just read that one more time. Okay, this is so what I did was I went through everything and then I tried to cross-reference it and link it up to uh other things that we know to try to put the pieces of the puzzle together. That's what I spent yesterday doing. Okay, so this is Dateline NBC. This is NBC correspondent is my source on this, Keith Morrison. He said, quote, "And now Kohberger's phone, his electronics have told police that was the first of his 12 trips Kohberger made to Moscow and in the area near the King Road house before the M crimes." I'm watching my words here. At least, I'm still in quotes here. At least one close enough to connect to the house Wi-Fi. That's the geofencing handshake. And the reason that I told you, I believed, in my opinion, that law enforcement hung on to Kaylee's laptop and Bluetooth and Apple Watch. And the reason I knew they hung on to it is that Steve Goncalves had been wondering out loud why he didn't get these things back in an interview. He didn't know why he didn't have his daughter's stuff back. But if this is true and Keith Morrison's reporting is correct, and there's at least one time where that Wi-Fi did a handshake with Kaylee's Apple Watch or the computer, again, that's going to really not make it hard for Ann Taylor to try to say that Bryan Kohberger had no motive. Okay. All right. This is another motion that Ann Taylor wanted to suppress. She wanted to suppress the statements that Bryan Kohberger made to law enforcement. His defense team not only wants to suppress any statements he made to law enforcement once he was arrested, but they also want to suppress his body search. And I shared with you that I thought those 2 traffic stops that he got for tailgating, one right after another. I'm not saying he wasn't tailgating. I just thought it was too much of a coincidence. I thought that was law enforcement trying to get up close body cam footage of his hands and wrists and face. And that's why I enhanced the footage, and you guys could decide for yourselves what you see. I thought I saw cuts. They were healing, but I thought I saw cuts. But so they want to, so Ann Taylor doesn't want them. She wants to suppress evidence of his body search. So were there any defensive wounds on Bryan Kohberger? Why is she trying to suppress a body search? What did he say to law enforcement? Because if law enforcement did their job well, and I do believe that they did, then one of the things they would have done was try to lock him into a story, right? Because his alibi is I was out gazing at the stars and the sun. Oh, I do want to correct one thing. I think I said that on November 22nd on my last live stream, was his alibi. And I looked up the weather for the 22nd. It was 2022, which is the number I was seeing, but this would have been November 13th. It was foggy that night. So I just want to correct that for the record. Okay, so I believe they were trying to get photos during that Albright that trip that he took with Michael, where he said he was going for Thai food. They were trying to get photos of his hands and face on body cam, and that's why he was pulled over. And I wonder if there were any scars left that and Taylor doesn't want the jury to see what they found on the body search. Even though it had been weeks since the crime, because he wasn't arrested until the end of December, and the crimes happened November 13th, there still could have been some scars or marks. Clearly, there's something on his body because Ann Taylor doesn't want to let it in. So I did enhance the body cam footage. You guys can go back and look at that video. If you want to take a look at it, let me know what you think. Number 6. Let me just check in with chat. I still have a bunch of stuff to go through. This is going to be, we're going to be here for a while. I am doing the members only live stream. I might be a little bit late with it. I might be on time with it. If I'm a little late, it's just because I want to make sure that this is done correctly. Okay. CJK says hello. He's very smart, but not smart enough. Hey, Sandra. Hi, Holly. Let me just scroll down here. Let me see where we are on the questions. Okay, and back up. I'm going. Woo! Kat, I don't know if I thanked you for your super sticker. I do want to thank you so much. And just in case I missed it, and Rebecca, thank you as well. I think I did thank you. I just want to make sure I've thanked everybody. That was really nice. Okay. Elbarica says true, but why go through all this? I'm not sure. Oh, okay. He's having a conversation with Kami. Kami says just PCA is just a snapshot. It doesn't have to include it all. In fact, it shouldn't. It's the bare minimum. That's right. It's the bare minimum that they would have needed to get to get the warrants, to get their grand jury hearing. They're going to just show you the bare minimum that they have to. Remember, Ann Taylor said she had, 52 terabytes? My computer, just for reference, that I edit on, now I do use an external hard drive to back everything up, but my computer that I edit on and do everything on, this computer only has a half of 1 terabyte, and I've edited tons of stuff on it. 52 terabytes is a massive amount of data to go through. It's huge. It's huge. So, Ann Taylor does have a lot to go through. I'm sorry you're feeling badly, Heather. I hope you feel better soon. The flu this year, Jody, I'm sorry about your grandson. The flu this year is terrible. It's a really nasty strain. It's a really bad strain. All right, please bring me your questions, your comments. Jody says, off topic, but Gabby Petito on Netflix was even more heartbreaking. It really was. And I have another video. I'm doing a Sebastian Rogers live stream tomorrow, but I'm also putting out a new Gabby Petito video tomorrow too. I'm editing. I've already filmed it and I'm editing it now. And Jess says, can you imagine what the prosecution actually has in evidence? Heather said, I hope he's on the mend, Jody, for your grandson. All right. Tell me your questions. Bring me your questions. I do want to. Shelly said she saw the cuts. Yeah, I have a video where I didn't want to take somebody else's enhanced. I enhanced it myself and just showed it to you guys and just said, tell me what you see. I'm not telling you what to see. You guys can decide for yourself. They have us all on meds waiting for this trial. Yeah. David thinks common sense prevails. We have such nice people on this chat. We have such good people. Regina said, if he did, he would have defensive wounds. Yeah, the problem is, and the reason I think they pulled him over twice, I think the first time they didn't get the body cam footage they wanted. I just think it's very suspicious. I could see him getting pulled over once. It's a long trip, but twice within 8 to 10 minutes, he's pulled over a second time, means that they wanted something. They wanted something. And, if they just needed an excuse to pull him over. And if he was tailgating, rushing to try to, get out of the Pullman, Washington area and get to Albrightsville, and he was tailgating, that gave him the excuse to pull him over a second time. But they didn't give him a ticket for either time. They let him off with a warning. But they talked to him, and Bryan Kohberger said, they asked him where you're going. He said for Thai food. He didn't say, I'm going home to, Albrightsville, Pennsylvania with my dad for the holidays. We just said, guys, where did the info come about the ID? I just told you. I'm assuming you put your question in after I told you, but I just told you the sourcing on that. There's multiple sources on that. You guys can feel free to do your own research. You don't have to believe anything I say, but this came from NBC correspondent Keith Morrison. No, I take that back. That's about the Wi-Fi. The ID inside the car, inside the box, literally comes from the list of items that police seized from Bryan Kohberger's family's house. And then the fact that it links to the victims came from multiple news sources. You guys can just Google that. Bryan Kohberger IDs found inside a glove, inside a box, and you'll see multiple articles about it. You can read it for yourselves. Florence said he also said his phone did a handshake with Kaylee's Bluetooth. That's what Keith Morrison said. Yeah, that's what Keith Morrison said. Not the other stuff. Okay. Wicked says, I wonder what the rest of the trip was like with his dad after the 2 traffic stops. I don't know. I don't think Michael had any idea that Bryan was being suspected. We've heard that his sisters suspected him. This is hearsay. I don't know. It's been reported that they suspected him, but I don't think we're going to hear about that at the trial, just because I don't think his sisters are going to want to testify against him. I could be wrong. Kat said he thought he was smarter than everyone. You did say thank you, and you're so welcome. Oh, good. Okay, I'm glad. I was worried I hadn't said it. Thank you, David. Kami said, I did see what looked like a cut on his right wrist. I imagine they have blood somewhere. I would not be surprised of that at all. Yeah, I think so too. I thought, I didn't say like in the video, I don't tell you, but just I'll give you my own opinion now. I do believe that there are cuts. And I think, in seeing what that Ann Taylor. So let's keep going through the stuff. Let's just keep going through everything. Thank you so much for Jeff, for a couple of bucks for our mouse pad for your new computer. Thank you so much. Jeff, I really appreciate it. I think by the time this is over, I'm going to have enough for the computer. Allison has been a member for 8 months and says, we're so glad you're on the case. Thank you, Allison. And thank you so much for being a channel member. All right, let's keep going through the evidence that Ann Taylor wanted to suppress. Let me just do this really quick, and then we're going to dig into that. I still have quite a bit to go through. Thank you to our producers, Njaz, Sasha Angel, Mikey M, George Brown, and Pepper for supporting the channel. We're not ending. Okay. I'm just want to just say, do my thank yous. Thank you to all of our channel members. If you would like to be a channel member, just hit the join button. It's next to the subscribe button, and your name will appear in all my videos and my live streams. So thank you to all of you guys who are channel members. And I just want to do last week's and the beginning of this week's super thanks and coffee gratitude. Thank you so much. And thank you for the gifted channel memberships, Njaz and 6 Cents Amelia. Thank you so much. All right, let's go through the next portion, because we have, so for the people who've been saying there's no evidence, and there is evidence, because Ann Taylor has made multiple motions for the evidence. Okay, so I talked about the Dateline correspondent Keith Morrison. I talked about the body searches. So now we're going to talk about what law enforcement got from searching him at the arrest and within Idaho. Okay, so his defense team, Ann Taylor, does not want anything that law enforcement retrieved from his office or his Pullman apartment to be admitted into evidence. So again, there's she said there was no DNA evidence. She said that there's no evidence connecting to the victims. She said that early on. Let me grab a sip of water. Obviously, there's some evidence, because she doesn't want to let it in. Remember, if it's good for the defense, she would not be filing motions to suppress the evidence. So We can look at the affidavit, okay, and we can see that law enforcement did collect evidence. If there's a hair and, it links back to Murphy the dog or Buddy the dog, I think it makes it hard for the defense team to overcome. Because how would hair from Murphy the dog get into Bryan's apartment or office? Okay. Um, so he wouldn't have needed to have any direct contact with Murphy because Kaylee and Maddie would have had contact with Murphy. The roommates would have had contact with Murphy. Murphy would have been in the house. So we could have just picked up, a hair. We know there was an animal hair that they got. We just don't know if it links back to the apartment or not. But Ann Taylor, was asking for this Franks hearing, which the judge denied today, challenging the search warrant on the grounds that the police officers lied to obtain it. He said, no, they didn't. And I'll be interested to see what she, was just a clean sweep for the prosecution. So I had told you guys I didn't think it was likely that the judge was going to grant her a Franks hearing, but we never know. The other evidence that Ann Taylor is trying to suppress comes from that Amazon account, his AT&T account, which we talked about at the beginning of this, his Google and other digital items. So that's why I wanted to go through what these 3 Amazon searches. Okay. One of them was done by the FBI. The same exact search was then performed by local law enforcement. Why would or search warrant was done by local law enforcement on behalf of the prosecution. Why would they have done the exact same search? Because they needed it. There was something, the FBI found something and they needed it for the prosecution. His AT&T account, we know that his cell phone was with AT&T. And I told you there's not 1, not 2, but 3 different search warrants for the AT&T, Google, and other digital items. So when we go back and try to figure out what was on the Amazon account, I think it is going to link back to the K-bar knife. I do believe that the Google search might also reveal that he searched either for the victims or that K-bar knife. And if so, this is another link. If this is just me taking an educated guess, this would be another link for him to either the victims and or the K-bar knife. Even if you delete your search history, it can still show things. We know this from other cases, where like NK was deleted everything off of her phone. But they can go in and forensically get stuff. So Ann Taylor keeps claiming that Bryan Kohberger doesn't have links to the victims, but we know from Dateline NBC and from Steve and Christy Goncalves that he was following Maddie and Kaylee on Instagram. We also have heard from multiple sources that he was messaging one of the girls on Instagram in her DMs. She did not respond. So again, for stalking to apply in Idaho, for that statute to apply, the victims have to feel harassed or threatened for that to apply. It's a very narrow definition for stalking. I do not believe that the victims knew that Bryan Kohberger even existed. So stalking doesn't apply. It doesn't mean that he does not have any connections to the victims. I believe that he does. I believe that these motions from Ann Taylor tells me that there's something there. So every live stream I do, I'm always asked about the stalking. So I just did want to kind of go into that. So just because the victims didn't feel harassed or threatened and he wasn't technically stalking them doesn't mean he wasn't tracking them, doesn't mean he wasn't monitoring them, doesn't mean he didn't follow them to the mall that day, that they have that traffic stop outside the mall that proves he was there. But we're going to have to wait till the trial to learn more about this. Let me check in with chat, just see where we're at. I do want to take your questions. If you want to come on up and talk to me, whether you believe he is innocent or he is guilty, I still would love to hear what you have to, what you think on this. We do have a Facebook group. If you type in Reporter Room and Bryan Kohberger, it should pop up. If you want to come, if you don't see me here, I generally pop in there regularly and interact with you guys there. Sear said, I knew exactly what you meant to Florence. Heather says, right, it has to be devastating for any parent. KV says, correction, 25 million pieces of paper. Oh, I missed something. What is that in relation to? Bridget wants to know who leaked the information about the ID and the glove. Okay, so I went through that. Hopefully I've answered your question on that, Bridget. Kat says, have you heard that B and M were being surveilled by a Cessna on their drive? That Brian and Michael were being surveilled by a Cessna on their drive? No, I did not hear that. I did hear that Bryan Kohberger and Michael took this really weird detailed detour. Now there was a snowstorm coming in, but they took like an 8 or 9 hour detour, and instead of going from Pullman, straight to Albrightsville, they did this like loop de loop under here to get there. Now I could see going like an hour or two out of your way to avoid a snowstorm. I don't understand driving like 8 or 9 hours out of your way. So maybe they were being surveilled, Kat. I don't know. I haven't heard anything other than the weird detour. But if you have a source on that, let me know and I'll check it out for you. Top Cat says he didn't want DNA or prints on items he bought. Yeah, I think so too. Jody thinks that's suspicious about the IDs. Yeah, and the fact that she doesn't want that to come in. Bridget says, but you find things after you get a warrant. I'm just trying to understand. No, that's fine. I want you guys to ask your questions. I hope I've answered them. I hope I'm answering them. Please don't feel, if I like show your comment and I just try to give an answer, please don't ever feel like I'm singling you out or I don't appreciate it. I do. I'm just trying to answer your questions. Jeff H says, what appears to be a cut? Yeah, I definitely showed enhanced footage of that traffic stop. At the time I didn't say what I thought it was. Now that I'm hearing that she was trying to suppress his body search, makes me wonder if there wasn't a scar. Howard Bloom doesn't think so. Nope, he doesn't. And I covered that on the last live stream. Yes, so Howard Bloom doesn't think so. We'll see what Howard Bloom says next, Thank you, Jody. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our mods today. I really appreciate you guys. Bridget says, I think JE is guilty. I'm just trying to understand. Jeff says, what appears to be a cut on BK's wrist in the Indiana stop, I think has a lot to do with the very clearly noticeable low sun angle. Dad is looking right into the sun, squinting, wrist shadow, in my opinion. Oh, could be. Could be. David says, Bridget, it was a search warrant from his parents' home. All right, let me see. So let me just ask you guys, do you think there's evidence for in this case? Put a 1 in the chat if you believe there is evidence in this case. We just haven't seen it all yet. Put a 2 in the chat if you think there's no evidence in this case. I just kind of want to get a feeling of where you guys are at on this. Let me see. Congratulations, Kat, for becoming a member. This is our head mod, Njaz, if you guys don't know. Thank you so much, Sirius Black. Heather, they can't find it. Thank you, Elborica. I really appreciate you. It is a great chat. It's a really nice group. And whether you are pro-defense or pro-prosecution, your comments are welcome. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just going to bring you all the evidence that I know about, and I'm going to try to put the pieces together in the best way that we can. BK was creeping around them, Brother Mike says. Sirius Black says, I know that we have different opinions about the case, but I'm glad you're here and enjoy it. Thank you, Alberica. Yeah, we don't all have to agree. And you guys, we're not going to all agree, right? We're not going to go through every case from now and forever and all agree 100% on every single case. We're going to have differences of opinion on the Gabby Petito case, on the Sebastian Rogers case, on the Bryan Kohberger case, on the Delphi case. We're not going to always all agree. That's okay. This is a critical thinkers channel for everybody that want all the information so you can make up your own mind. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I used to kind of do that more. I really am working hard not to do that. I will give you my perspective, my view on things, but I'm just trying to give you all the information with educated, putting the pieces together. Heather says, I agree. I appreciate when people can discuss things, ask questions, and not be attacked. Yeah. So if you guys leave me a comment and I pop it up on the screen and I respond to it, please don't ever think I'm trying to attack you or anything like that. I'm definitely not. Nadia thinks he is guilty. Thank you, Njaz. I really want to be professional. So let me know if you think there's evidence in the case or not. Do you think there's evidence or not? I'm just curious. Heather says, I don't think I will make it for that, but I'll probably be sleeping. That's okay. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to do a deep dive into the Sebastian Rogers case. Thank you, Donna. Jason says Howard Bloom is full of it. I mean, he's a journalist, so I do think he has an educated decision. Okay, so we have ones. Heather put up a lot of ones. Jason thinks any evidence is planted. Allison says a 1. If you think there's evidence in the case, put a 1 in the chat. If you think there's no evidence in the case, put a 2 in the chat. Rick puts a 1. Mike put a 1. Top Cat put a 1. Pension put a 1. Mike says it's a big 1. Brother Mike says it's a big 1. Patricia put a 1. And Jess says, oh. Veronica put a 1. Kent said put a 1. Shelly put a 1. Vet Girl put a 1. Heather says, great mods. I might be biased on that. We do have great mods. You guys. Holly put a 1. Jason said, enjoy your voice and intelligence, but have you not heard Xana's friend shout, I see you, Farley? No, I haven't. Even if her friend shouted that, here's where I'm at with okay, this is what I've seen. And this is, I just want to respond to your comment, Jason. So this is what I've seen. I've seen that because there's a gag order that was put in place by Ann Taylor to protect Bryan Kohberger's right to a fair trial. And whether you're pro prosecution or pro defense, the one thing I think everybody can agree on is we want a fair trial. We don't want the wrong person to get convicted. We don't want the wrong person to go to jail. We want a fair trial for Bryan Kohberger. This is a capital case. It's serious. But because there's a gag order in the case, a lot of people have been able to attribute a lot of things because there's this gap in information. So they've been able to attribute things to the roommates. But I've already shared with you that I believe that I'm urging caution when it comes to Bethany and Dylan. I want to tell you why. It's because there was an 8-hour gap, and I believe that they were sleeping to when Ethan's friends came by and knocked on the door looking for Ethan and woke up Bethany. But I think, if you look at other cases with Elizabeth Smart, her sister was sleeping in the same room, and Elizabeth really was abducted, and her sister didn't report it for 6 hours. In the Travis Alexander case with Jodi Arias, we know Jodi did it. There's pictures of her at the crime scene, even though she'll tell you she didn't. There's pictures of her literally committing the crime. So we know she did it. But Travis's roommates didn't report him, and he was lying in the house with them in his bathroom for days, not hours, days. So this gap has allowed people to attribute everything. I've seen everything from this was filmed, and there's film. I believe there were, once law enforcement was called to the scene, that people did probably pull out their cell phones. I mean, that's the age we live in. That doesn't mean it was uploaded for a pay-per-view. I've heard people say they had all their roommates come over, they cleaned up everything. No, there's no evidence of that either. And unfortunately, the roommates can't even defend themselves because they're stuck under this gag order. Alberica gives a 1 and a 2. Thank you. My mom got me this for Christmas. 1 from Sujoy. Siri says, to you, Heather, you're such an amazing person. I'm so grateful for meeting you. Heather says, Two-Way Street. We have really nice people. It is a bit slow today. We have good breaking news on this channel, though. And Florence puts a 1. Pepper put in a 1. Yeah, my mom got me this hat for Christmas. Not this year, but last year. I only trust original videos. Pepper says, thank you to our mods. Yeah, thank you to all of our mods, you guys. Bridget says, I can't wrap my mind around how he could do it. It's really hard because, it's like seems nice and is nice. Bridget says, it blows my mind that anyone could do it. And Heather says, I can't wrap my brain around that anyone could do it. It is really hard. And I know that, we ran into something similar, with the Chris Watts case. He seems really nice. Nicole Kessinger, I'm sure if you just met her on the street, I'm not saying she had anything to do with what happened to Shanann. I'm not saying she didn't either. But, she seems nice also, right? But seems nice and are nice are not the same thing. With Megan Boswell, for those of you that watch that trial, she looks like a sweet, innocent young girl, just 18 years old. You could never picture that she did what she did. With Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, if you just met Brian Laundrie, like the police officers and the Moab police stop, believed him. He probably seemed nice to them too. Couldn't believe that, he would have, done what he did to Gabby just a couple days later. So, it is really hard to wrap our heads around as like good-hearted, decent people that there are people out there that are capable of doing these crimes. People that knew Ted Bundy. I mean, he got married while he was on trial for his life, literally in Florida. A woman was willing to marry him and have a child with him because she believed him. She believed him. So I do think that, this is not unheard of. Okay. Now, let me see. I just want to look really quick and see if there's anything else new that's breaking. Just see if there's any other information. Okay, let me share this with you guys and let me move myself out of the way. Okay. So we're doing this together. We're doing this live. All right. So this is a new article that just came out while we were live. New evidence will be allowed in the Bryan Kohberger trial. So there is evidence. Okay. My source on this is Kiro 7, Yahoo News. A judge has denied multiple motions by Bryan Kohberger's defense team to toss out key evidence. So there is evidence for his trial, including DNA and digital records. According to court documents, Bryan Kohberger's defense argued that his rights were violated when the DNA was taken from the crime scene and then analyzed using investigative genetic genealogy, that's IgG. But on Wednesday, the Ada County judge ruled that was not the case. The documents state that there is, quote, no reasonable expectation of privacy in identity. And his team, this is Ann Taylor and her defense team of Bryan Kohberger, and his team, so his is Bryan Kohberger, quote, did not prove that his DNA was tested for anything other than identifying purposes. And, quote, this is the judge saying this, not me, even if the DNA analysis revealed sensitive personal details, there is no reasonable expectation of privacy in a crime scene DNA. Because Ann Taylor was saying that because we leave our DNA everywhere, that somehow that CSI people shouldn't be able to collect DNA at a crime scene. And the judge said, there's no reasonable expectation of privacy in crime scene DNA. He likened it to fingerprints, just like law enforcement can get your fingerprints at a crime scene. The court, so this is the judge, denied motions to suppress digital evidence gathered from Bryan Kohberger's accounts with Google. Okay, we talked about Apple today. We talked about Amazon today, and his cell phone data, that's the AT&T, stating, so those were all, remember, if it's good for the defense, she wants it to come in. If it's bad for the defense, she was trying to suppress it. So he denied her motions. So the Google, Apple, Amazon, and his cell phone data that is stated in the search warrants to obtain the information, that's all coming in to the trial. So there is evidence, okay? Anybody who told you that there isn't, is either misinformed or you've been, maybe mistook what they said. Police also say that Kohberger's phone pinged near the victim's house over a dozen times before the crimes. Now, Bryan Kohberger has entered a not guilty plea. Well, actually, he didn't say it. Actually, I should say it. He stood silent, and it was the Judge that entered it. Okay, so here's another article. Let me grab this one for you. We're breaking news as we're going here, guys, so we'll just bear with me while we go through this. All right. So my source on this is Fox 13 out of Seattle. Let me close this one. Okay. Make sure we're all looking at the same thing. All right. So this is Fox 13. A judge, that's going to be our judge, the Ada County judge, has denied the defense motions. The defense's motion to exclude DNA evidence, investigators say, links Bryan Kohberger to the crimes. So that's the IgG DNA. The defense argued that Kohberger's DNA was tested without a warrant, but the judge ruled that there is no privacy expectation for crime scene evidence. Can you imagine if you were called to the scene of a crime and you were a law enforcement investigator and you had to get a warrant to go and some people were dead in there and you had to get a warrant to to investigate it every time? No. Kohberger's trial is set. So let's dig into this article a little bit. So the judge denied a defense motion. He actually denied 4 of the defense motions to exclude crucial DNA evidence in the trial of Bryan Kohberger. Genetic material was discovered on the knife sheath at the residence where the students Kaylee Goncalves, Maddie Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were done away with. I'm watching my words. Investigators linked Kohberger to the crime using his family tree databases and DNA collected from the trash at his family's home. Now, to be clear, the IgG DNA is not the DNA that the prosecutors are going to present to the jury. They are presenting the DNA that was collected from the cheek swab. That is what matched Bryan Kohberger to that knife sheath DNA into the octillion range. Okay. But Ann Taylor wanted to get the IgG thrown out because she could say fruit of the poisonous tree, because then there wouldn't be probable cause to search his car, his parents' Albrightsville home, his Pullman apartment, his computers. By trying to get that thrown out, she was trying to get everything thrown out. Okay. So the defense argued that Kohberger's constitutional rights, this is what Ann Taylor was arguing, were against an unreasonable search and seizure were violated as his DNA was obtained without a warrant. Well, Bryan Kohberger's DNA was obtained with a warrant. Okay, that cheek swab was obtained with a warrant. But what she was saying was the IgG was obtained without a warrant. But the judge ruled, this is where I think, things get conflated, even with journalists sometimes. Had the judge ruled in favor of the defense, all of the evidence gathered after identifying Kohberger through his DNA, including his cell phone data, placing him near here we have it again, his cell phone data, placing him near the victims' homes, and the security footage of a vehicle matching his would have been dismissed. Okay, so cell phone data, is that just the pings or is there geofencing? I think we're going to see both. The Goncalves family released the following statement after the ruling. So this is brand new. They have to be so happy with this judge. They said, "Praise the Lord. All the motions to suppress and Frank's motions have been denied. It's always a double-edged sword waiting. You want the right decision to be made, but you want them to be made quickly. We are thankful to the court for a timely decision and appreciate the work prosecution has put in thus far. In the big picture of life, justice is just moments away. Thanks again for all your support and love for our family." This is Bryan Kohberger's latest mugshot. So what's next? What comes next? Well, the Franks hearing was denied, so we won't have that. But Bryan Kohberger's jury trial begins in August and jury selection begins at the end of July. So we'll have to see. Let me see if there's anything other news. I'm just going to refresh. Okay, let's go to Fox News. I hope you're okay with me showing these different sources. I do use multiple sources when I'm trying to gather information. So I just want to make sure we're all looking at the same thing. Okay. Judge denies Bryan Kohberger's defense motion to suppress key evidence. Okay, guys. So there is evidence. Oh, I forgot. I am not going to, I can't show Fox News. You have to be subscribed to them. And I don't, and um, because I'm not, I can't, even if I was subscribed to them, I would not be able to show this on the air because this would be their like personal information.
Judge ruling Bryan Kohberger, the man accused of killing 4 university.
Okay, so they're covering it, but I'm like, let me find another one. Okay, we've done Fox Seattle. Let's see if there's anything else. Got Kiro. I'm just looking for any other breaking news. If there's anything else the judge has said, is there any other breaking news on this case? So I'm just looking. I just don't want to have anything left on the table where there was some other hearing and I didn't go through it. So I hope I explained really well what the evidence was collected and how I believe it will be used in the trial. And I do believe I have all the most recent articles that are being shared in this. Yeah, I wish I could share the Fox News one. Okay, I think I got them all. Just looking to see if there's any other news before I take your questions. I don't see anything else. Let me grab this. Oh, my computer's fussing at me now. See if I don't think it's going to come up. All right, let me try closing this out. All right. Let's show the victims. Let's show the victims. This is the iconic photo that I've told you guys about. That I told you that Kaylee uploaded a photo. I've always described it as the iconic photo. This is one of the photos that she uploaded to Instagram in the hours before she was done away with. And this is the photo. So, anybody monitoring their Instagram, then, then we know that they would have known that Kaylee was home. So, if he was trying to get more than one target, then he would have seen Kaylee was there also, which has been something that's going around. Thank you so much, Enjaz. Thank you for your hard work, Enjaz. Enjaz is one of our head mods. If you don't know, she's really great. And so thank you so much, Enjaz. And thank you for the 10 pounds. I think I will have enough for my computer after this live stream, you guys. I'm going to log on and just go ahead and order it. Thank you so much, everybody. I do so much editing. I do go through these fairly quickly. So I really appreciate you. Paulette says, I cannot believe this is happening. Thank you, Heather. I try to give different sourcing. BK has facial hair for his fans. Yeah, the judge is very experienced. I love him too, Mike. I love him too. I think he's great. Thank you, Patricia, for joining me today. Thank you to everybody who came by to spend a little bit of time with me. KV says, the judge always looks so bored and uninterested. Maybe it's just resting his face in his hands with a finger on his nose that makes him look like that. Or maybe he just wants to get it over with. You got to think when he's like hearing some of these motions, like the way that he pushed back against both the defense and the prosecution, but really a lot on the prosecution, I thought, is that I did feel like he was not leaning her way. He just really was pushing back hard on it. So Brother Mike says, thank you to you, Enjaz. Enjaz has been giving away channel memberships too in multiple live streams. I think we probably have quite a few people who have gotten gifted memberships. And we're going to do a members only live stream next. So if you want to continue the conversation, I'm going to leave it there, but I will be going live on the Sebastian Rogers case tomorrow. So I hope you guys will join me on that, and also be on the lookout for a new Gabby Petito video. I'm going to be doing that also, but I'm going to do the members live stream right now. So if you're a channel member, head on over there. And if you would like to become a channel member and continue this conversation, we're going to do a Q&A. Feel free to hit the join button and come and join me now in the live stream. If not, I will see you guys tomorrow for the Sebastian Rogers live stream. And I will be planning another Bryan Kohberger live stream in just a few days. So please be on the lookout for that. I will continue to keep you updated with all of the latest breaking news. So please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And thank you for being part of the Reporter Room family.